Chrissy was a newly separated, single mother of 3 teenagers who lived in Ajax, Ontario, Canada. She had 3 teenagers, 2 daughters and 1 son. Victoria, 16, Roy, 15, and Vanna, 13. And a cool fact about her son Roy, he's only 15 and he plays for the Don Mills Flyers. And from sources, everyone's saying that this kid, he was an amazing goalie and he was more than likely to be drafted up to the OHL. Which, whether you follow hockey or not, that's just below the NHL. So long story short, Roy, he was pretty much destined to go huge with a career of hockey. Now, with Chrissy being recently and newly separated, even though we're children, they're all teenagers, doesn't make being a single mom of 3 any easier. However, she still managed to make the best of it. She worked full-time at the spa, she took amazing care of her children, as well as she also liked to work out and attend a local gym. Now, of course, Chrissy has to unwind, and some people, different strokes for different folks, and Chrissy, she liked to work out at the gym. And at this gym that we're talking about is where she met the man in question, the big bull mastiff head-sized man himself, CORY FENN. I'm not kidding, I'm serious. Look at the size of this dude's head. It looks like it's so big, if he was to hold his breath, it'd explode. CORY FENN, he also liked to work out at the gym. Now, he was a big dude himself. Around 6'6", 240 pounds, and just built like a house. This guy was not messing around, especially when it came to how he wanted to present himself. So he was also a frequent flyer at the same gym that Chrissy was at. And soon enough, after meeting each other at the gym numerous times and developing a relationship, it quickly spiraled into something that at first was amazing, but then turned into complete shit. Chrissy and CORY would spend so much time together, multiple times a week. They would be partying, they would be hanging out, and they each would be bragging about the other to their friends and their family, and it honestly at first seemed like a match made in heaven. Chrissy was over the moon about CORY. She was bragging about him to all her friends at work, bragging, Chrissy, she's 39 years old. CORY, he's only 29, this young hot stud. Everything's kind of working in her favor. So what is there to complain about that? Most people go through separation and it's difficult, and she seemed to find the light at the end of the tunnel fairly quickly. And it wasn't long until CORY moved into Chrissy's house and started residing full-time in the basement. Therefore, not only taking their relationship to the next level, but it's the starting point of this story. Now, CORY, he did support himself. He had a decent full-time job, and even though it's not the most honest thing, on the side, he sold a little bit of the South American Bam Bam to put a little bit of extra money in his pocket. And a little bit of something else into his sinus cavity. And he slowly got Chrissy into that as well, because she was not known for that sort of thing, yet she was doing it multiple times a week with CORY. And just like every party, this one has to come to an end too. Over time, Chrissy started to look tired, dragged, miserable. Her co-workers at work were noticing she looked disheveled, she didn't look really happy, she wasn't as talkative as she used to be. And for someone with a personality like hers, to see her kind of just, shut down and introvert herself a little bit, those are some serious red flags. The relationship between Chrissy and CORY, it also started going down the tubes as well. They used to fight all the time. At first, it was simple bickering until the fights just started to become explosive, to the point where Chrissy's oldest daughter, Victoria, she would hear them fighting in the basement of the house all the time, and she even came to her mother, Chrissy, a few times and was like, hey, is everything okay? Is everything all right? Chrissy assured her daughter, you know what? Everything's okay. Everything's fine. I'll talk to CORY. We'll work our differences out and we'll settle this. This is going to be a good thing. Victoria wasn't buying it. She just knew there was something about him she didn't like. But then CORY came up to her and kind of put her on the spot. CORY FENN went to Chrissy's oldest daughter, Victoria, and asked her if he could have her blessing to propose to her mother, Chrissy. Victoria wasn't too fond of the idea, but due to the happiness for her mother, she gave Corey her blessing. Like she really had a choice. Now obviously the relationship did not get any better. It actually got worse. It started becoming physically abusive, and it started raising even more red flags when Chrissy would show up with marks, bruises. Her cell phone was smashed. Allegedly, Corey smashed the phone. She wasn't allowed to wear makeup anymore. I guess that was a request of Corey's. And she wasn't even allowed to talk to her ex, the biological father of her children. So after Chrissy assured her co-workers and friends that she was going to end the relationship with Corey and force him out, she went home after work and was confronted by her daughter. Her daughter confronted her about finding drugs in the home, which she was not impressed about, and she knew they belonged to Corey. So she also pretty much gave an ultimatum to her mother saying, listen, now this guy's bringing drugs into our home. He's got to go. He's got to get out of here. Chrissy assured her daughter, look, he's out of here, okay? I'm going to talk to him. He's done. I apologize about the drugs. It's over between us. It's over. Victoria, being furious with her mother about the situation itself, she left and went to her friend's house for the night to give herself some space and to cool down with the argument with her mother. She already had arrangements to be picked up the following day by her mother because Victoria was going for her driver's test. So before they got back together in the morning, rather than fight, they both had the night to cool off. This was the evening of March 13th, 2018. Now, in the morning of March 14th, 2018, Chrissy didn't show up for work. This was extremely unusual for her. Also, she did not show up to pick up her daughter to take her to her driving exam. So people started wondering, hey, we should get a hold of Chrissy. Things weren't going too well. Let's figure out what's going on here. Someone give her a ring. There was repeated attempts at Chrissy's cell phone. No response. Not a response back from a text. Not a call, not a voicemail, nothing. No one can get a hold of her. Finally, her co-worker said, you know what? I'm going to go over to the residence myself, and I'm going to see if I can get a hold of Chrissy at her house. So that morning, Chrissy's co-worker did make her way over to Chrissy's house. She knocked on the door, and lo and behold, who answers the door? Mr. CORY FENN, the bulldozer-headed man himself. Corey answered the door. He had a little bit of blood on his hands, on his arm. Nothing to make you go, oh my God, but still enough to notice. So her co-worker says, hey, where's Chrissy? No one can get a hold of her. Corey, she's just laying down. She's sick. He assured her that she just, wasn't feeling good. She had her phone off, that she would get a hold of her later on in the day, and that everything was okay. No need for concern. And shut the door. Well, the co-worker's standing there going, what the shite? And then returned back to her vehicle, which she parked down the street. When she got back to her vehicle, she got inside, and right away she called 911. She was a little suspicious about what was going on, and while she was on the phone with the police, she saw CORY FENN leaving the house, getting into his truck, backing up, and driving the hell out of Dodge. Not long after that, the police showed up at Chrissy's home as well to try to make contact with her, and they didn't have any success either. Now, on March 13th, 2018, the same night that Victoria and her mother had the argument about Corey and finding the drugs, and she left to go stay at her friend's house to get a little bit of breathing space, the youngest daughter, Vanna, had a friend of hers who was spending the night sleeping over, watching movies such as Mean Girls and doing what other preteen girls do when they hang out and have sleepovers. Now, what actually happened is still up for debate, although evidence does suggest that Chrissy confronted Corey, saying that, you know what, I want to end the relationship. This is toxic, you gotta go. Corey ended up snapping out, and he attacked Chrissy. Corey ended up using a butter knife to stab Chrissy multiple times. He also strangled her, and once Chrissy was dead, he put her body in the garage and tried to hide it underneath garbage, debris, and car tires that were already in Chrissy's garage. After Corey had murdered Chrissy, he then found Roy in a bedroom in the home. He also attacked Roy. He strangled Roy until Roy died, and then he left him there in the bedroom where he murdered him, and all he did was cover him up with a blanket. Now, the youngest child, Vanna, who was 13, who, keep in mind, was in her bedroom during this whole ordeal with her friend who spent over the night. They're in the room having no idea that any of this is going on. No idea that her mother was just murdered downstairs and her brother. Then her phone goes off, and it is her older sister, Victoria, explaining, look, everyone's trying to get a hold of Mom. No one can get a hold of her. Are you at home? Vanek says, yeah, I'm at home. I'm having a sleepover. I'm in my room. Do you want me to go downstairs and try to find Mom? Get her to get a hold of you? Victoria's, yeah, I would really like that. Vanna, however, she runs into CORY FENN, and CORY also attacks Vanna. He murders her as well. He stabbed Vanna multiple times with a butter knife, beat her, and stuffed her body underneath a bed in one of the bedrooms of the home. Now, after CORY had killed Chrissy, killed Roy, and presumably killed Vanna, he took off from the home, hopped in his truck, and he got out of Dodge. And when he was leaving, that is when the witness saw him leaving the home and taking off. So while that woman was down the street calling 911, he was murdering Vanna. Now, Vanna's friend, she stayed in the room the entire time. She did not venture out. And she did make a statement, though, later on. At one point during the ordeal, CORY did come up to the bedroom. He came in all out of breath, saying, hey, where's Victoria? Referring to the oldest daughter. And the friend said, I have no idea. He said, oh, okay. Shut the door and left. And the friend remained in that room until finally she heard the sound of police. A while after that, when the police had showed up at the house trying to get a hold of Chrissy, they got no response. The police went in, they announced themselves, and while they were announcing themselves that they were in the home, that's when Vanna's friend, who was there for a sleepover, she emerged from the bedroom. She had no idea that her friend was just murdered. So when police entered the home, they found the bodies of Chrissy, Roy, and they found Vanna clinging to life. They performed life-saving measures to Vanna on the scene and rushed her to a nearby hospital where, unfortunately, she did pass away later on that day from her injuries. Now, the manhunt was on for CORY FENN. We know that he got in his truck and he took off. That was witnessed by the woman who called 911, the co-worker of Chrissy. Well, CORY, he left the home. He went to a nearby town that is just west of Ajax called Pickering, Ontario, where he ditched his truck, he called a taxi, and then he took it east of Ajax to a town called Oshawa to an ex-girlfriend's house and figured that's going to be the best place for him to hide. But if the cops come knocking, I ain't here, baby. The police were quickly able to track down Mr. CORY FENN himself, and they found him hiding in the backyard of his ex's house in Oshawa. And the police got him and gave him a good old-fashioned police beat down. I ain't kidding. They messed this bro up. CORY FENN was arrested by the Durham Regional Police, and he was held in custody on 3 counts of second-degree murder, where he stayed until his trial. Now, during CORY's trial, which was delayed numerous times due to COVID-19, which many things were, he fired his lawyer. Yeah, he's going up against 3 counts of murder, and he fires his lawyer. He claims that he's not guilty, he was on a 5-day bam bam binge, and he doesn't remember anything. Hey, dumb shit, you're in jail. And in February 2022, Mr. Bullmastiff Head himself, CORY FENN, was found guilty on 3 counts of second-degree murder, which carries an automatic life sentence with no chance of parole for 10 years. Like they're gonna give him any chance of that. On March 24th, 2018, a service was held for Vanna, Chrissy, and Roy. There were hundreds in attendance, including many people of the Don Mill Flyers, who were part of Roy's hockey team, where he was the goalie and the heart of the team. Also, the Ontario Hockey League, the OHL, they stepped in, and in 2019, they drafted Roy as the 74th pick overall in the priority draft. Even though he was murdered, they knew he would have been drafted eventually, so posthumously, he was drafted to the OHL, 74th overall, from the Don Mill Flyers. Not much is known about Chrissy's oldest daughter, Victoria. other than her and her biological father, Voss. They live together and they cope with this tragedy day to day, and they like to stay out of the public eye as much as possible. They do appreciate the support and the outreach from everybody, but, you know, put yourself in their shoes. I'm sure they wouldn't want to be front and center all the time either, especially something like this. And that's the story of CORY FENN. Again, the big-headed idiot who murdered an innocent woman and her 2 children. And now he's going to rot away for the rest of his days in prison. Screw him. I'm sure there's some big boys in jail saying the same thing. Once again, I'd like to thank you for tuning into Horror Lore. Please like, please subscribe, please share, please comment, and you never know, one of the next stories I tell could be about you or someone you know. Until next time.